All right, we are live now, and I don't think we'll have any audio issues this time because I believe I'm correctly capturing audio now from Zoom uh, for the folks that are on Zoom. Uh, and yeah, so we're just going to go over kind of things that have happened in the past 2 weeks on the team. We were just talking to Adam before we went live, and might try and demo one of the PRs that got merged recently. And yeah, but I'll go over some of the quick stuff first, and once I get through that, if anybody else on the team here has something they want to bring up, please do. The first thing I'm going to bring up, which kind of just started looking at this morning myself, was oh, that's going to be annoying. All right, was just security scanning with code QL. I was taking a look at this morning. Alex PR'd in. It's just a GitHub action. That's all it is. So just under that workflows folder. And yeah, it does security scanning stuff. And I found out that the results for this are actually stored in the security tab, which I'm not going to click because I don't want to publicly disclose any of them yet. But it caught some stuff. That's why there's 10 in there. A couple of them weren't like super, what I want to say, like not important or
Most of them are
relevant.
like, yeah, there were a couple that are like unvalidated input, but it comes from like trusted authorized system components. So I think it's either a matter of like, we should just refactor it anyway. But in those cases, I don't think we caught anything that's actually like a particular thing that would need to ship a CVE or anything for. Mostly just
Yeah,
like hygiene that we should clean up.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, it got some stuff. It's pretty cool, and it's very detailed in like explaining like what's wrong, why it's wrong, and like it's very clear. Like, oh, okay, I see what I need to do to fix it. So it's pretty cool so far. Uh, so yeah, that's the security scanning stuff. Another thing I wanted to bring up. So I don't know if people remember now, but back in I guess it was November-ish of last year when Docker was pulling back on its rate limiting and putting in all these new restrictions for images and stuff. Uh, so I just noticed over the past 2 weeks that I think there were two instances, unless I'm mixing up, it's the same person twice, but I thought I saw two instances of people on Discord, so just people from the community reporting that they're having interactions with Docker right now, and Docker's like reporting that they have some very high uh, like poll numbers when they shouldn't be because of the changes that were introduced since Concourse 6.7. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of call that out in case people were experiencing similar things. 6.7 should have like prevented people from, or made it easier for people to not hit Docker's like poll rate limits. But some people are kind of reporting that they may seem to be hitting those for some reason. We're not sure if Docker changed how they're counting something because we definitely changed how um, when polls are happening because majority of the polls used to happen in check containers, which by default would be running every minute. So it's a you would end up with a lot of polls happening. But we changed how we check for new versions of images in the registry image, and I think there was some other stuff in 6.7 too. I can't remember, but that's kind of the big one there. So that should have fixed it, and we're not seeing anything. At least Docker hasn't come knocking on our door, but some people have reported that they have. So if you are, maybe jump on Discord, share any new information that you have, uh, if there is any. Yeah. Uh, what else is there? Oh yeah, kind of related to the governance stuff. I just want to call out was there's this piece of work that people may not be too sure what exactly this is about. It's definitely much more of a internal thing, internal in regards to like our relationship with VMware and the fact that we're employees of VMware here on like the Concourse core team. So this stuff is mainly just taking some of the stuff that currently exists in like our public CI instance and pulling it over so it's happening on some other concourse instance that's internal to the VMware network, and that way this will let us open up a bunch of the teams that are part of that governance repo. Just github.com, Concourse governance. Uh, Alex, which teams is it that are kind of locked down right now? I can't remember. Is it just the core one? Or
I think they should be open now.
they should
It
be.
was just maintainers before, but that's been the things that were holding that back is addressed. So this comment's gone now. So
Oh,
theoretically, we
cool.
could accept more people into the maintainers team now.
All
The
right.
main blocker was getting the open source repo mirrored into a private GitLab, just for safekeeping, and that's all done now. So
Cool. All right then. Then I guess we're mostly good there, and that's just doing some last minute stuff that'll just make our lives on this team easier. But yeah, that's what that's about. Um, so the next thing I kind of have is just the thing that Aiden and you and I were just talking about, the stream resource cache. But before we get to that, does anybody else have something they want to bring up or call out?
Do we want to give an update on the continuously releasing images?
That's a good one, and I should be totally bragging about that because I did that. But yeah, let's brag about that a little bit actually, because yeah, that's a new thing. Thanks for remembering that, Daniel. But yeah, so we added this job in here. It's under this publish group, and so this pipeline here is how we have these release pipelines, which are meant to release specific versions of uh, of Concourse. So when like we release 7.3x, there will be a pipeline in this release instance group called 7.3.x. But yeah, these pipelines now contain this job that's just called rebuild images. Uh, it runs every day, and essentially the goal of it is to just rebuild the image, mainly updating OS uh, the the OS packages that are on the image to ensure that any like CVEs, patches, or stuff that were in there get updated. So now we're actually releasing a couple different image tags. And probably the best way to look at that is to just expand this, and you can see the list of tags that we're pushing here. So so now a bunch of the tags, like the latest tag, and then your semver tag, so 720, 772, those are all now what are called like rolling tags. So if you pull them every day, you're going to be pulling a different image. We're not changing the Concourse binary itself in here or any of those direct dependencies. That is something we could maybe add on to here, but I think we'd want to do a bit more rigorous testing. And at least my current opinion on that is like at that point, we might as well just release a patch and just let that binary roll through the pipeline in all our tests. But yeah, right now this is mainly just focused on just taking the same binary image and just rebuilding it in the same image. There's a couple of tests that happen. We scan the images to make sure that there are no more vulnerabilities in there. And then we also just do these little smoke tests where we take the image, Docker Compose up it, and just do a couple tests on it just to make sure that it still brings up a concourse that can still run workloads. Um, and then yeah, and then there's a new tag as well. So for some reason you do want to just like pin yourself to a very specific iteration of an image. Uh, every day there will be a new tag that'll be like 720 and then Alpine or Ubuntu, and then the date that the image was pushed. So yeah. So if you want to pin yourself to it, you can do that, and then you can easily tell what date it was that you pinned it to. And yeah, so these date ones will never change. They'll just be static images. They should always point to the same SHA, unless for some reason we ran this twice in one day, but that shouldn't happen by default, I don't think. Believe the only things we trigger on is just this periodic check up here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, so slight change with the tags. So when you're pulling those normal Semver ones, you'll get a different SHA every day. And yeah, that's the imagery building that we're doing now and we'll continue to do. Thanks for the reminder, Daniel. Is there anything else anybody can think of? All right, I'll take that as a no. So I guess we'll move on to talking about streaming resource caches, which that was the second time I think this PR got merged. I think it got reverted the first time from a couple things, but now it's actually in on master, right, Aiden?
Yep, that's right. We're running it now on our Concourse instance. So working out the remaining bugs, but it should be pretty stable for when we release it in 7.3.
Cool. And yeah, so the plan is for that to be on by default now, right? When people upgrade
Yep.
to that, but there will be a flag if they need to disable it for some reason, right?
Yep. Yeah, the disabling, like it should just be a performance increase for the most part. It does mean things might get cached where they wouldn't normally get cached. So it means you can cache resource volumes on like Windows and Darwin workers that wouldn't ordinarily run resource containers. So there might be a slight cost to storing those cache volumes. Like it might take a bit more disk, but it also means that they won't need to be streamed as frequently. So there's benefits there, but yeah, it is possible to disable it if that's something you don't want.
Cool. All right. Yeah, so you linked me a couple stuff here, mostly this pipeline here, which yeah, we're using in an integration test.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I guess this kind of shows, this is for, yeah, resource caches. Yeah. So yeah, what is it?
Do you want me to kind of walk through the pipeline and
Yeah.
explain what the test is actually testing?
Yeah.
Cool. So basically there's this sum image resource, which is meant to simulate, I don't know, an image of some sort that you want to use for subsequent tasks. So in the job, we have these tags, tag 1 and tag 2. That's just to force specific workloads to run on specific workers. So we can ensure in the integration test that the volumes actually will get streamed.
I'm going to bring it up on here.
Cool.
This one. There we go. And I can do that. There we go.
Nice. Oh yeah, that one's
Oh wait, is this the right one? No, this is a different
that
one.
one's slightly out of date. So I modified the this
Oh, was this one from your
pipeline.
PR?
Yeah.
What's your PR number?
Good question. It is 7001.
7001. Cool. Pipeline, stream, resource cache. There we go. All right. Sorry to interrupt your flow there.
All good. So in this integration test, we have two workers, one tagged with tag 1 and one tagged with tag 2. And in this job named creatively job, we first get the image on worker 1. And then we have two tasks that both run on worker 2. And they're effectively the same thing, but they both use the same image, sum image. So before this change, what would need to happen is that since task 1 needs the image sum image, but that image is stored on worker 1, it would need to be streamed from worker 1 to worker 2 via the ATC. And that's still the case for task 1. It'll still need to stream some image from worker 1 to worker 2 because worker 2 doesn't have it yet. The difference comes in task 2. So previously, we would stream the image for task 1 and then just kind of ignore it. We'd keep it around until the container got GC'd. But now what happens is, since we streamed it, we can cache it on worker 2. So when we run task 2, we don't actually have to stream some image again. We have it already locally on worker 2, so we can just make use of that. Yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to share here. The rest of it is just kind of making sure that that each task gets a fresh copy of the volume to ensure that there's no sort of pollution, but not super relevant.
Awesome. Oh yeah, that's good. It's a small thing that like people won't have to change anything in their pipelines, but yeah, they'll see that performance improvement.
Yeah, also worth noting, it's not just for images, it's for any task input. So this task one also takes the input sum image, and it is also left unaffected. So yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely handy. All right, I guess that's all we had to say about that. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share or bring up?
I guess I have one more thing about this PR for caching streamed volumes. Another feature, I guess, that's coming along with it is that there will be a lot less fetching happening in your get steps. So you're gonna see a lot more messages of like found in local cache than before, because before this next release for 7.3, we would try to find a random worker for you to run your get step on. And if we found a worker that already had the cache on it, so it's previously had that resource cache on that worker, then we would obviously just use that cache. But that the way that we used to do it before was that we would choose a worker and then check if there's a cache on it. But the way that we're doing it now is that we will find a worker depending on if it already has a cache on it. So if you have 5 workers and you have 1 resource, and your resource did a get step and it landed on worker 1, if this get step runs again, what could possibly happen before 7.3 is that we would choose worker 2, which does not have the cache on it, and then we would run the get step fetch again for worker 2. But with 7.3 now, what we'll do is that we will look through all your workers and see that you have a cache on worker 1. So we will choose worker 1 to run the get step on. So the get step won't actually run a second time. Aiden, do you have anything to add about that?
No, I think you covered it well. What you can show that actually in the UI on like CI, if you just open a pipeline and open one of the get steps, most likely, as long as it's not a new version, it will.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
look at that. I wonder why it prints 3 times, but that is cool.
yeah,
Is
I
there.
don't know. Maybe the ATC restarted.
Yeah, not sure.
Seems
Actually,
to be
maybe
that's apart, but
I'll go pick another one just to see if it's there. Maybe something to look at in your pair. Oh yeah, just one's here.
yeah, I think the ATC might have restarted midway through the build, so it reconnected.
Makes sense. That's cool. That's really, really good. And yeah, actually, yeah, that's a really good thing because this will help like make sure Concourse isn't putting more strain on, the external system that all of these resources represent, right? We're just taking advantage of, data we already have within the cluster and just reusing it instead of fetching it again. So yeah, this is a really good performing thing. That's cool.
Yeah, it's worth noting that if you end up disabling the caching of streamed volumes for whatever reason, that behavior is also disabled because otherwise it would result in a lot more streaming going on between workers. The difference when you have it enabled is there's still streaming going on, but once it streams once to a worker, it's cached, so it won't need to stream it again. But if you disable it, it will not do this behavior. You might end up running a get step on a worker, even if there's already a cached copy on some other worker.
Awesome. I'm seeing a question from Jama. I wonder who that is. Random question, but is the one beside releasing the breadcrumb a reference to the number of instance pipelines? Oh yeah, up here. Yeah, and you can even see the one. Yeah, oh yeah, I don't know if you're referring to it. Oh yeah. Yeah, and the breadcrumb, yes. Yes, the one refers to how many there are. If we go up here and you can see resource has 15, so if I click into one of these, you'll see 15. So yeah, it refers to how many instances, instance pipelines there are in this instance group. Yeah, good question. Does anybody have anything else they want to bring up? All right. I'm going to take the silence as a no from the rest of my teammates. And we'll call it there for office hour. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See y'all in 2 weeks.